Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Memory Dump, the semi-regular show where I essentially dump my thoughts on various gaming-related topics, in hopes of generating some kind of discussion. Alright, so a topic came up on Twitter that I wanted to go ahead and chime in on. You can go ahead and, we'll say, chime in on many other discussions with me at bluescreen_Jason.
Shameless plug.
Sorry about that. Anyways, the topic came up about pre-orders. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about pre-orders and, we'll say, my thoughts on them. Now, first of all, before we go ahead and get started on this, I'm going to have a little bit, we'll say, of a slant towards being against pre-orders. I think pre-orders are a bad thing. Now, that said, fitting with, we'll say, the footage I decided to put along with this discussion, some Serious Sam 3 BFE, I put this up here because this is a game I pre-ordered. It's a digital game, I pre-ordered it, and I'm, we'll say, guilty of what I am speaking out against. So, yes, we'll say, you can call me a hypocrite, but just because I did something doesn't make it any less stupid. And this was way back. I don't think I've pre-ordered anything since. But anyways, I wanted to get that out of the way in case someone goes ahead and says, wait a second, Jason, you're being a hypocrite. Well, hey, I'm being upfront with you guys. Honesty is so important to me. Now, let's go ahead and, first we're gonna go ahead and define this. What is a pre-order? Well, basically a pre-order is when you can go ahead and purchase something that is not yet, we'll say, released. You're putting your money down, you're telling the seller, or in the case, we typically talk about games here, so we'll refer to them as a developer. You basically give your money to the developer and you're saying, I want to buy this game when it comes out. Before it's actually come out, that's basically what a pre-order is, to make sure that on launch day, you get a copy. Now, I want to narrow things down a little bit for this discussion. We're going to talk about digital pre-orders. Now, you can go ahead and physically pre-order things, pre-orders in GameStop and various, we'll say, gaming stores, whatever, but I don't know, it depends on where you're at. EB Games here. But anyways, we're going to disregard physical pre-orders because while I tend to be against them, I have mixed feelings. I don't, we'll say, have a very, we'll say, super, well, I guess I do have a strong argument. My thoughts aren't fully collected on what I want to say about physical pre-orders. Know that I am generally against them, but, it's not, we'll say, within the scope of this video. With this video, we're going to be talking about digital pre-orders. Now, why do we even have pre-orders? Or digital pre-orders? Back in the day, maybe it might have been just a couple of years ago, but anyways, pre-orders were a way of, there was two things I off the top of my head that I know that pre-orders did. One, it let the developer or the seller know what the demand would be for his particular product. So they knew exactly, how much they wanted to, they needed to stock, they needed to have in place. And as such, it also helped the consumer, the buyer, know, okay, I'm guaranteed a copy on this day. It was a way of ensuring that you got a copy the day it was released. And, in that respect, it was a decent thing. It was a good thing. Now, why are pre-orders bad now? And specifically, why are digital pre-orders bad? Well, what is the benefit to the buyer? Let's think about this. You can get the game either way on launch day, whether or not you pre-buy it, or you pre-buy or you just happen to buy it on the day. The game has unlimited stock. It's digital. It's not going to run out. Some would say, you get discounts or you can get little bonuses. But what in essence these are doing, let's think about this here. The discounts, first of all, they're usually not huge discounts. They're just slight little discounts, and let's be honest, you're going to get other discounts down the road. You get little, we'll say, bonuses thrown in. Now, this might be additional DLC or skins or whatever. Now, what this basically does is it adds, we'll say, a value. By adding a discount, basically, the buyer feels like, oh, I'm not going to have to pay as much, even if it's just by a little bit. By adding extra bonuses, what they're doing is they are, in your mind, just bear with me for a second. they are adjusting the value of the product. By saying they're going to include all this stuff, you know, this stuff might have cost them nothing to make. It could have been just a simple little thing, but by saying that they're adding it additional on top, it makes you feel like, oh, I'm getting better value for my money. And so it's, in a way, it's like giving you a discount while still making you pay for it. It's kind of like, you know, sometimes I don't know, I see these cans and stuff like that, or these packages that says, now with 35% more, but I don't recall ever seeing them being smaller. You know, it's kind of like one of those things like, you're paying for this, but you're getting 35% more as a bonus. It might not be the best comparison, but that's kind of what it is. It's playing with your mind to make you feel like you're getting more. Now, but let's look at this. Basically, the benefit is sometimes you get a discount and sometimes you get bonuses. Now, what is the benefit to the seller? Well, they get higher sales because few different reasons. One, there's less media and awareness of quality. Sometimes review embargoes and stuff don't even hit until the day of release. Even if it happens before, there's less word of mouth. Less people have had a chance to play it. Sometimes reviews, they don't get things right. Like, people will be skeptical sometimes and they'll say, well, you know, I enjoyed this, but they reviewed it poorly, so maybe I'm still gonna like it. Word of mouth really hasn't had a chance to really spread. Basically, there's a lot less information out there. So you're buying this completely on faith. Not only that, but what this does is it's like a psychological pressuring. Now, I went to school for so many things. One of those things was like business management. I've done part of that was going through marketing, and this is basically it's a trick. It's like if it's basically pressuring you to buy by having it on like a time limit. Think about Steam. I know plenty of viewers probably have gone ahead and they've seen a Steam sale and they're like, man, I've got to buy all this game. Look at this. Limited time. Look at these huge discounts. And I'm willing to bet a good portion of you have games sitting on your Steam library that you've never even touched before or played hardly any of, but you bought it because of the value proposition. And that's basically what the benefit is to the seller. They sell more because they make you feel like, I need to buy this now. Even if you're not even that interested in it, they make you more interested in it. Or maybe I wouldn't say make you, because marketing is sort of a manipulation of what you already have, but it basically increases the value and adjusts, we'll say inner economics. This is put really poorly, but I'm hoping that the point gets across, and that's basically what it does. So basically, the benefit for the buyer, you feel like you're getting a better value because all this stuff is just thrown in to sell it to you in the first place. But the seller, they make out like bandits. So the pre-orders definitely benefit the seller a lot more than the buyer. Now, the next point here. What about pre-order exclusives? What about things that are exclusive only to pre-orders? I think Serious Sam 3 was guilty of this. I could be wrong on that one. Don't quote me on that. I think they were, but not 100% sure. But that is the epitome of evil. Like, what if people weren't even aware of the game coming out? They didn't know when it was coming out. They heard the game was coming out. They were interested, but they didn't really keep up with it. And then it launched. And they realized they missed out on this. So basically, you are punishing a portion of your fan base because they didn't buy the game early. They didn't go ahead and just put blind faith in you and put the game out. Or just make the purchase. You know what I'm saying? You know, and then that is really manipulating the buyer because then it makes the person feel like, you know, what if the person doesn't really have the money? They're interested, but, you know, they're like, oh, man, I can't afford it right now. And I realize this is the fault of the buyer, but still, or maybe they wanted to get something else, whatever. But basically, by putting a time limit that you will not be able to get this again, that really is manipulating the buyer. Now, having exclusive stuff, especially in, we'll say, today's landscape, it tends to only be done through, we'll say, online verification. Now, think about that. So. You know, they don't want everyone to have access to this content, so they've got to have some way that only the pre-order people get it, which tends to mean that it needs some sort of, I guess we'll say, a DRM. It's you know, either that or everyone tends to get it, you know, through piracy or whatever, yeah. And because there's going to be that verification, there's the possibility that in the future that content goes away that you went about. You might not care. You're done with the game, but you know, some people like myself, I'm a patient gamer. I like to take my time and I'll pick up a game later. If the servers are gone, servers are down, that means that the product has actually lost value over time. I think a good game should stay good across, you know, across time. It should stay good. So the fact that, you know, this content that you paid for, maybe one of the reasons why you went ahead and bought a game early, could be taken out because, I don't know, the company goes under, or they decide to shut down verification service. This isn't a widespread issue, but there are a few examples of this happening. So it's just something to consider, but it's not. It's ultimately that I think is absolutely despicable. Now, when pre-orders come up, a lot of times people like to point to Kickstarter. They like to talk about Kickstarter, and I don't think I'm going to talk too much about Kickstarter in this video because I feel that Kickstarter it's different. I still think it's ultimately unwise. It's a risk, but I don't feel like it fits into this discussion because we'll say the whole value proposition versus what you're paying versus who benefits from this and that. It tends to be it's very different than we'll say a straight up pre-order. So we're gonna go ahead and avoid that. We'll skip that for this time. So yeah, I think that sort of concludes basically what I had to say about pre-orders. What do you guys think? Go ahead and chime in the comment section, or once again, hit me up on Twitter, bluescreen_Jason, and we'll go ahead and continue the discussion there. So actually, speaking of discussion, I figured it might be a good idea to let people know what the next episode's discussion is going to be about. That way there, you guys can chime in, and I can bring up, you know, the viewers' thoughts in the next episode. Before I even get into things. That way there we can actually make this into kind of a discussion series. So the next episode's topic will be on emulation. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it basically, it's the holy grail of pirates? Or is it, you know, is it good from like a preservation perspective? Let me know what you think. So yeah, that concludes things. If you like this content and would like to see more, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, leave it a thumbs down. It's all right. I give you my blessing. You may do so. Either way, let me know what you thought in the comment section, or once again, like I said, hit me up on Twitter. But yeah, until next time, game on.